Welcome back to the show, guys. Today's episode will be the first interview for 2017, and it is fair to say that I'm quite excited. But before we get into today's episode, just pushing forward from the goals from last week, guys, we are looking to crush the reviews on iTunes. We want 5 stars, we want 6 stars if you could give them, but make sure you head to iTunes and search for the Fit Pro podcast, or if you're lazy, there'll be a link in the show notes, or if you forget about it all and come back to the Fit Pro podcast later, there's a link. There'll be a link on the actual page. One of the tabs will say iTunes. Click it. It will take you straight to the page, regardless of what device you're on. If you're on Apple, it'll take you straight to iTunes or open up your app. If you're on Android and you have an Apple account, you'll have to sign in, do the whole thing. But that's all I have to say, guys. Let's get into the episode and enjoy. Episode 62 of the Fit Pro podcast. Welcome back to the Fit Pro podcast, guys. I'm your host, Marvin Fayez, and today we've got a very special guest. We got Patrick Umphrey on all the way from the States. He's the creator of Eat, Train, Progress Facebook community page. He's been an online coach for the last 4 years. He's also a professional magician that does close-up magic, and he's also a regular co-host on the Shredded by Science radio. Pat, how are you?
I'm doing really well. How are you doing, Marvin?
Yeah, not too bad. It's nice and cool here in Australia on the summer's day now, which is pretty good, rare, really. How's things in the States going for you?
Nice and cold here. We're in Minnesota, and it was about a week ago. It got down to 20 below. Yeah. So, it's going well though.
Yeah, perfect, Pat.
Life is good.
Look, let's take a few seconds and let the listeners know who you are personally, and then we'll get into the meat and bones of the show.
Yeah, you got it. My name is Patrick. I am an online coach. I also have I've been a personal trainer live in a gym. I'm a close-up magician, as you mentioned, and my career is basically spent doing a mix of coaching people on Skype in kind of a one-on-one setting, and then also performing close-up magic for people, which collectively, it's a very bizarre mix of careers, but that is who I am and what I do, and I'm also a very happy person because of it. So I have a very fulfilling career in terms of the kind of personal rewards that I get from doing both of those.
Yeah, perfect. Look, when I heard that you were a professional close-up magician, the first time I spoke to you, I was like, that is the most interesting guest I would have ever had on the show. It really is.
Yeah, it's just bizarre. And to the general public, I'm sure people on the audience of your podcast, when you say online coach, that's not anything bizarre. But to the general public, that's also a very strange career. People, as you know, they think of online training like they probably imagine us watching someone exercise while we are on Skype. That's usually what people think of as online personal training. But, as you and I know, that's different. But point being, I find that both of the careers that I'm doing, people are like, what? Like, that is the strangest way to make a living.
And how did you get into those crazy careers? What were you doing before?
So as far as the magic is concerned, I got interested when I was about 18 years old. So here's another strange fact about me. I bowled competitively for about 25 years of my life. So actually closer to 20 years, traveling around bowling tournaments. And when I was 18, so this is 6-7 years into bowling, I broke my leg. And the girl I was dating at the time knew how bored I was not being able to bowl. And so she bought me a book on how to do card magic. And it started with that book. That was my first real exposure to learning close-up magic. And then from there, graduated college, worked at a magic shop for a few years, which was great because I really sharpened my skills, because people come in to purchase things and you're required to demonstrate stuff and try to sell it. And so got me a lot of performance experience. Then I got a job at General Mills, which is a pretty reputable company, and worked there for 5 years after graduating from college, of course, and hated it. And first of all, great company, so I don't want to make it sound like it's a bad company. It's a phenomenal company to work for. It's just a bad fit for me. I'm not cut out to sit in front of a bunch of numbers and not interact with people. So So I resigned after 5 years in the company, and the day that I resigned, I got a call to perform at someone's wedding. And just to fill in some gaps here, I hadn't done a performance for probably 7 or 8 years at this point. So I hadn't performed since college, and now here I am. Several years have gone by. A lot more life stress has accumulated. I started doing less and less magic because I was so stressed about the job that I hated. And so when I got that phone call, it was just like, well, what are the odds of that? And so I looked at my wife, then my fiance, and said, hey, what if I tried to do magic full time? And she said, well, now's your chance, because at the time we didn't have any children. We didn't have any debt. And so it was a situation where she was basically saying, yeah, give it a shot, because you might not have this opportunity, 5 or 10 years from now. And that was 8 or 9 years ago at that point when that happened. And I am now making a living, and I'm a lot happier. So
that's amazing. We're gonna have to get some pictures, getting some feedback there. All good. I think it's gone. Yes, it's gone.
We good?
Gone. Yeah, all good, man. Yeah, man. That is actually very, very interesting. And so you were doing you're a professional magician. What then lured you onto being an online coach?
Yeah, so probably about 7 years ago now, 6.5, 7 years ago, started trying to get in shape and started learning more as I went. Very interesting, because I'm sure this is common with a lot of people. I thought that I had all the answers, didn't think that I needed to learn more. I thought it was just go in and work hard and don't eat carbs at night, and all the stuff that, people can buy into from the media, like all the myths. I believed in many of them. And as I went, I started reading on bodybuilding.com. I started learning about Alan Aragon, and that guy was very influential to me in terms of, how I, the things that I believe, but then also just how I think about information. And so anyway, I started making some good progress, and then I started posting a lot on bodybuilding.com and on MyFitnessPal. And this is going to sound crazy, but my coaching started through my exposure to like social media, internet forums, and things like that. So started posting a lot on MyFitnessPal, started developing somewhat of a reputation for being a decent source of information. And a lot of this just came from me spreading the things that I had learned from the resources that I'm using to get my information from. And then probably about 2 or 3 years into that, I decided that I wanted to start gaining experience coaching people online. So I formed a group in the forums there called Eat, Train, Progress, which is now, you see the group that I have on Facebook. It started on MyFitnessPal. And people would come into there, ask for advice, and I started kind of advising people in a situation where they're basically asking questions, they're posting their stats, they're posting programming, things like that, and I'm just kind of helping them sort through it. From there, I started my own coaching program that I gave away for free because, this is a situation where I am, 3-4 years into it myself, and I'm obviously still learning, and I felt like, well, if I'm going to do this, I certainly need to get experience and continue my education. And so let's just design a kind of pilot program. Let's give this thing away for free with the understanding that I'm providing people with a service. I'm using my reputation on that website to get, generate interest, and worked out very well. I had a lot of interest in the free coaching program. I would run application periods. So I would post an application for it and say, if you'd like to work with me for free, I'm selecting 5 people, fill out this application. And I would get over 100 applicants each time I did this, which was really cool because it gave me a list of people I could choose from to work with a variety of demographics and backgrounds. And I basically did this for a year. And during this time, I also obviously continued my education. I pursued a training certification, and Yeah, and it really just started with that. And then after about 1 year of giving that away, I decided to charge what I thought was a pretty reasonable and low fee. And then as I've been going, I've just been kind of raising my rates as I go and as demand picks up. And the business has just kind of built itself from there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, perfect.
So it sounds kind of a bizarre way to go about it, because I'm obviously starting from internet forums and turning that into a actual coaching business, but it was a situation where I feel like I handled it with a reasonable amount of care in terms of, going through that trial process to get experience and to kind of refine the process as I went, figure out what things needed to be changed. And I was really fortunate or lucky to just have the opportunity to have several people who wanted to give this thing a shot. And so that first year was really good experience for me.
Awesome, man. And it definitely sounds like you went a different route to what most people do.
Yes.
Where you went through the forums and through the communities. Do you have a website now where people can go and visit you and sign up to your programs, or are you still purely on forums?
I don't. And I accept and recognize that might be considered foolish by a lot of people, but my business comes mostly through a combination of Facebook and MyFitnessPal. And that is where people interact with me and contact me. And I also get a lot of referrals from my current client base.
Yeah, look, if it works, it works. And if you figure it,
that's the thing. Yeah, it's working. And I do think that, were I to launch a big website and promote it, would I get more business? I probably would. It might be something that I do in the future. Yeah. But thus far, I've been very happy with where things are at in terms of when you balance out what you put in to your business and what you get out of it. I feel like that balance is very good right now, and I'm very pleased with it. And that's probably ultimately why I have not escalated this further, so to speak.
Yeah, and look, if in the future, obviously, you decided to then transition to an online platform of your own, you already got the community there. You've already got the following there.
Yes.
They would generally just follow you over to that, and that's where you come when you've got a business that's been going for a few years. And this is for the people out there that are wondering how to build a following. If you've already got a business and you've been doing it for a few years, generally they will follow you from platform to platform, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, onto Snapchat, whatever it is, they'll generally follow you. And where Patrick's sort of set up now is that he's got this community going. It's working for him. There's more than one way to skin a cat, so I'd say keep it rolling. If it's where you need it to be at to live the lifestyle that you need to live, that's perfect, man. And going back to the beginning there, where you said you were working in a job that you didn't particularly like, as are most people. If we're being honest, a lot of people are like that. What made you decide, obviously, to quit that job like that and take a risk sort of thing? And then obviously the magician thing came out of nowhere after you hadn't done it for 7 years, which was a bit serendipitous. But what made you go, all right, enough's enough, I'm just going to go and try something else?
I think I reached a point where I decided that the daily stress and the, for lack of a better word, misery that I was in because of that job, I felt like that outweighed the paycheck I was getting. And they, I was doing well there. And it's like, that's really what made it hard. Like it would have happened several years earlier if it wasn't, such a great company with great benefits and a good paycheck. And so it was just a situation where the money was the only thing keeping me there, and that's it. And I just got miserable enough.
I feel ya. Yeah. Ultimately, when you hit rock bottom, the only way you can go is up. And yeah, if you're at that point now in your career, not speaking to Patrick anymore, obviously just the listeners, but if you're at that point, weigh it up. Is it worth the unhappiness? Is it worth all the stress? 9 times out of 10 it's not. And
I'm a different person because of it, and something that is just, I find it fascinating, and it's even more fascinating now that I coach people, and so the topic is more interesting. But through my dental records, when I've gone to the dentist to get some dental work done, they take your blood pressure, and I have a blood pressure chart there that shows the day that I resigned and the 6 months following when I had some dental work done, my blood pressure plummets. It goes from very high to very reasonable over the course of 6 months. And this is before I started resistance training. So this is not an outcome of body weight or an outcome of fitness related metrics. Yeah. And I just find that fascinating.
It's very fascinating.
Very likely to just be a stress related kind of a thing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I'll take that claim back if I'm obviously do what I can to go by the evidence. And so if that's something that is could it be caused by something else? That's possible, but it's sure directly correlated. Like when you look at here's where I resigned and then here's where I am a few months later without adding any exercise, my blood pressure is just phenomenally better. So
yeah, look, I think people don't realize how much energy it takes to stay in a negative environment, to stay in a place you don't want to be, and what sort of toll it has on your body. I'm very happy to hear that you got out of that and you're flourishing. That's amazing. But
I'm doing all right. I'm happy with where I'm at. I'll say that.
Yeah, perfect. And obviously you've got a great support network behind you that was willing to go in and basically follow you into battle after you left that job.
Yeah, I mean, having a wife that was supportive of the decision made all the difference. So absolutely. I'm very grateful for that.
Perfect, man. And so, look, let's talk a little bit about your community and how you started on forums. Look, because I think people... Ultimately, even myself, I would love to create a Facebook community. How did you start? How did you go about doing a lot of it?
I just started on MyFitnessPal answering questions in the forums, and the general atmosphere of the forums probably maybe not quite that long ago, 6-7 years ago, something like that. I'm trying to get my timeline correct. Anyway, when I started posting there, the general environment was, I think, in need of some more current information, just as far as what was considered good pieces of information to provide for people. And so, exactly. I think the need was pretty high back then, whereas now there are, I think any internet forum you're still going to have that stuff, but it's in a much better spot now than it was back then. And so, in a way, I feel like I filled a need, so to speak, and that process of just continually answering questions and spreading what I thought was good information, and a lot of that is just linking articles from other people that answer topics like, hey, I know Alan wrote about this, or Eric Helms has a video about this, or things like that. Yeah. But it started creating a good reputation for me, and going from there to creating the forum group to try to find a place where I could moderate the information that gets spread in there and have my own little hub where I can say, here are my opinions on things if you're interested. That's really where it started. So I just built a reputation there, and it grew.
Perfect. And what forum did you start on? Was it that MyFitnessPal?
MyFitnessPal. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. I apologize. Yeah, I started originally posting on bodybuilding.com, and then I went from there to the MyFitnessPal forums, but it was really on MyFitnessPal where I would say that I started to build that reputation.
Okay, and all you were really doing was curating and filtering out the bullshit. And
basically.
Getting the good information in front of people's eyes, and then you sort of became obviously an authority in a certain way where people would look for you for information.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to say it. I admit that when I talk about it, I kind of sound like, I don't mean to sound like a douche or anything like that when I say I'm an authority, because I'm not. It's just that in that environment, I built a good reputation, and that's really it.
And so from MyFitnessPal and from bodybuilding.com, did they then follow you to Facebook, or did you have to do something different for Facebook?
Yeah, I think a fair number of people did. But what's nice, I think anytime you hop different social media platforms, you'll obviously get new people who are perhaps unaware of your existence on the other platform. And so the way that I did that, and I still do in my FitnessPal forums, I will occasionally talk about the Facebook group, and I just started Instagram probably, I would imagine, less than a year ago. And so, for example, on Facebook, I will link my Instagram, and on MyFitnessPal in my profile, I'll have a link going to both of those so that, people on one platform know that I'm on another platform. And yeah, you get some people that certainly follow you. And then just by existing on multiple platforms, you also get new people. And so, for example, a couple of years ago, I was at a point where all of my business was coming through MyFitnessPal. Like, that was literally 100% of where my business came from. That and referrals. And now I'm in a position where I regularly get clients coming through Facebook as well. And I also assume that at some point, maybe on another social media platform, that'll become a source of business in some way.
You on Snapchat yet?
I am not on Snapchat. I am basically, Facebook and Instagram is it for the popular social media platforms. I've never been on Twitter either.
Yeah. Look, I literally just started on Twitter about mid last year. Nice. It has its pros and cons. I'd love to get involved on Snapchat a little bit more because I know it's a massive marketing tool nowadays, and it just gives you an inside look into people's lives, which I feel people want to know. Obviously, because of all this reality TV bullcrap that's on TV,
right?
But I think people also do like to see what do you do on a day-to-day basis, and
right.
So that's quite interesting. The way you've done it is sort of guerrilla marketing style, where you've sort of done it not on the mainstream platforms to begin with, which I find very, very interesting. And
yeah, go. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Go on.
I apparently I am a douche. Anyway, when I originally got into it, the goal was not to build a business or start coaching people. It was just, hey, I like this MyFitnessPal place. I like talking on internet forums. I like helping people, and so the original intent was never build a business. This thing just kind of happened. And as crazy as that sounds, like, I just got the idea one day once I had this reputation, for lack of a better way to say it. I thought, boy, it would sure be a lot of fun to coach people, because the process I went through so far was incredibly enjoyable. And so I think that this is just kind of a outcome of all of the things that I did leading up to it, rather than some sort of a planned thing where I said, hey, I'm going to try to build a business. Let's start by posting in internet forums.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I feel like it's a strategy that's not used that often, but obviously very effective to obviously the proof that you have in front of us. But what would be some of your tips to somebody that wants to start out and do your kind of marketing? I know you didn't intentionally mean for that to happen originally, but I'm sure that over time you've developed a way to then market yourself a little bit better, or is it just natural to you? And that was episode 62 done and dusted. If you want to stay updated with the episodes, make sure you're subscribed on iTunes, and you'll get an automatic download the minute it comes out. You'll be able to pick up part 2 of Pat's interview, which should come out in the next few days. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe on iTunes at FitPro Podcast, as well as give us a big thumbs up on Facebook. I would really appreciate it. That is facebook.com/FitProPod. Now, if you want to talk to me, there's a number of ways you can do that. You can search for Marvin Fayers on Anchor. That is right, I am on Anchor now. We can talk on there. If you don't know what Anchor is, guys, Anchor is it is a social network on sound, on audio. You can just write a status like you would on Facebook, but instead of writing it, you speak it. You talk about it. You have conversations with people over time and space. And Anchor, I'm really getting into really building up a following. So if you want to behind the scenes look, more or less, you can go onto Anchor, search for Marvin Fayers, and it should be the logo of the FitPro Podcast if I haven't changed it yet. But it's a great little social network. Hopefully it turns into something more. I'm willing and committed to putting in the time and effort to basically learn this, because I feel like if it is not the next wave of audio social network, it will be the precursor to the one that comes after this. So I'm willing to learn so that when the next one comes out, I can have a head start. That being said, guys, thank you for listening to today's episode, and I will catch you on the next one.